Hello Hoovians and welcome back to my channel, and yes, I'm back, and hopefully I am back properly this time instead of doing one video and then not uploading for a month or two. Yes, but I'm back and I've got a new video idea this time, as I will be doing a countdown of John Pertwee's 10 best stories, and this will be an ongoing series of each Doctor. Eventually we'll be starting from William Hartnell and Patrick Troughton once I've got their 4 episodes. I'm missing 5 Hartnells and got Dalek's Master Plan on its way. Very looking forward to that. I will do a review of that once I've listened to it, which might take a year or two considering it's 12 parts. But anyways, without further ado, let's get straight into this. So number 10 is Frontier in Space. So, Frontier in Space is written by Malcolm Hulke, and you'll notice he's got a few stories on here. Quite surprised me, because I never thought it was a writer that I liked. But Frontier in Space is a story that intrigued me when I read this, before initially watching it. And it's basically about the Doctor and Joe land, crash into a spaceship that's in space, and it's between the humans and the Draconians, just on the brink of war, after there have already been many conflicts between the humans and Draconians of small attacks to parts of their own planet, which is Earth and Draconia. And I probably should mention this earlier, but if you haven't watched all the John Pertwee stories, I would recommend to not watch this video if you don't want spoilers, because there's going to be spoilers. Anyway, back where I was. So after many conflicts between the two, they're getting closer and closer to a war, and the Doctor and Joe get taken as prisoners and thought to be spies of from Draconia by the humans, and then get interrogated, then get caught again by the Draconians, and then they think they're spies to the humans. Then they go back to the humans and they still think they're spies of Draconia. Joe gets imprisoned, then and Doctor gets sent to the moon in exile, which I think he's only there for like an episode. I probably thought it should have lasted longer. But anyways, they meet the Master. The Master takes them to this planet, and he's leading the Ogrons who return from the Day of the Daleks. Later on, the Daleks are revealed, and I can't remember much of episode 6. I think that's like the weakest. But Frontier in Space, it's not one that I hear many people actually enjoying. It's one that I've heard is average. Most people prefer Planet of the Daleks. Personally, I don't think Planet of the Daleks is that great. It's a bit boring in most places. It starts off alright, but with Frontier in Space, I think the storyline of it is what's best. I mean, people say there's filler around the middle of it, and I do see what I mean, but personally it's not something that really gets on my nerves. It sort of works. You get some interesting scenes, despite when the Doctor and Joe are trying to escape. The Doctor talks to Joe, and it's quite an interesting talk to hear him say. And overall, I just think Frontier in Space has got a lot of good ideas. I like the plot twist, if you can call it that. That it's actually the Master engineering the war between the Draconians and humans, and it's just quite a cleverly story. I feel I haven't watched it for a while, but it's just one that I remember enjoying a lot more than other people said. It's number 10, Frontier in Space. So number 9 is going to be a controversial one, since this is something that I hear as a favourite from quite a few people. The Green Death. Yes, many of you are probably thinking, how is this one so high and so low on the list? Only his 9th best, and you probably will be even more annoyed when you see the 8th one. But The Green Death, this is Joe's final story, and it's famous for its maggots, the giant maggots. That's even said, is it on the back? It's either on the back or in that bit. Causing giant maggots. But Green Death, So Green Death, it's a fun one because I'm not really sure what I'd say to it. It'd be interesting if I did a review of this one. I'll probably need to rewatch it again to do that, but the Green Death, it has some good ideas. It's definitely a more political story from John Pertwee's era, and there's a few of those. One of them, for certain, I'll be getting on to later. But it's an episode that I can enjoy. It's one that I can sit down and, apart from episode 3, which is pretty boring. Well, as far as I remember, I can't remember much about episode 3 again. I haven't watched this in a while. But episode 3 is just the Doctor and Joe on a mine cart thingy. I've lost words. Working their way through a pool of the giant maggots, and yeah, it was just quite boring. So it's definitely the weakest part of the Green Death. But I don't know what it is that I just don't like. It's a good story, but it just doesn't seem to be anything spectacular about it that should make it any better. By the way, this from episode 10, from number 10 to 8, is all 8 out of 10s. So it's a solid 8 out of 10, but nothing spectacular. Apart from saying that though, the departure of Joe Grant is done brilliantly well. It's really good departure. It's a very beautiful scene at the end as well. So yeah, that's number 9, The Green Death. So now time for number 8, which I said previously will be probably quite controversial. I enjoy this more than The Green Death, and it is, if you can see it, The Claws of Axos. Now, something that might actually make me enjoy this more is nostalgia, since it's one of the early DVDs I got. Not this one exactly, it was the normal edition I had. But Claws of Axos, I think again this is one that's just got a really good idea with the Axons, Axonites. I always like that as part of one thing. And then when I watched it, I didn't really know what they're doing. I also knew that the Axons weren't actually who they seemed to be. That idea always interested me, but it starts off not too fast, not too slow. The alien ship lands in an area that the Doctor somehow magically predicts. He's the Doctor, he can do stuff like that. So yeah, and then the stuff, once you get to episode 2 or 3, I feel like the pacing of the story just slows down, which is something that puts me off it slightly. Might be the reason why it doesn't get anything higher than an 8. But it was very close between this and The Green Death, and it's just, I think there's just a few, the idea of it is just something that I prefer more to The Green Death. Don't mind political storylines, but I do prefer more sci-fi sort of stuff, and like more stuff with twists. And although I don't think the ending was done particularly well with how they defeated the Axons, it just felt a little bit just a little bit easy. And I didn't like how easily the Doctor got out of the time loop as well. But I did something that I did like. It's nothing that was really big, but it's his line of how he describes himself, how he's trapped on Earth as some sort of galactic yo-yo, which is a line I just liked. But Claws of Axos number 8, nothing too much to say. It's a good episode, just edges. The Green Death, written by Bob Baker and Dave Martin. I forgot to say which Green Death was written by, and that was Robert Sloman. And that's Claws of Axos number 8. Now time for number 7. So Sea Devils, the episode where there's pretty much a good episode of Sea Devils, to be honest. We've had 2 appearances in this and Warriors of the Deep. The less said about that, the better is all I'm going to say. I might do a review on that one day, because just to get out my opinion of that, it'll probably do me good. But this is there's not many stories after the Master, and this is probably the last out of these few, because we had the entirety of season 8 has the Master in every episode, it has a break. Then there's an experience he has since the Daemons, and they did like how it continued on from the ending of the Daemons, where he goes, well, he's getting arrested and he's in prison in this. But it also did like how he's manipulated the prison in a similar way to how Sherlock's sister did in the Final Problem, the episode called The Final Problem. And if you haven't watched Sherlock, and I'll explain it to you, he just manipulated the prison, so he pretty much is in charge of the place, but to the outside eye, he's just in prison, apart from the fact that he gets a few more gifts than other prisoners would. But him and the who's in charge of the place? I don't know who the name is and who's in charge in the place, but him and the Master working together, but he doesn't know what the Master is planning. And then, but what the Master's actually doing is building a communication system with the Sea Devils to eventually come out and invade the top security prison, the worst top security prison I've probably ever seen in my life. But the soldiers just don't really last that long. But towards the end of it is where it gets really good. There's a lot more deaths in this episode than I thought it would be. I thought it would be quite similar to Doctor and the Silurians. I mean, in a similar way it was, because Sea Devils pretty much are the Silurians, but they're underwater. And something that is, when I first got this back in 2015 or 2016, somewhere around then, I never liked the fact of how defensive and how badly the Doctor wanted to be allies with the Silurians or Sea Devils. It was something that always annoyed me, because in my head it was like, oh, you're never like this with any other alien race, so why are you like that with them? It just seemed very uncharacteristic for him, but now it's something I've come to appreciate for the same reason why I didn't appreciate it, because something that I felt should, just because for a race like the Sea Devils or the Draconians, I've forgotten every monster in Doctor Who now, but for all the aliens and stuff, they're no more alien than humans are, so it's something that now bugs me that he's not as defensive over them as he is others. Obviously humans, he's got an attachment to them because it's pretty much his second home, but it still bugs me in certain points. In episodes it's in certain, but when it got closer to Modern Who is when I felt that stop being an issue, but in Classic Who it definitely is. But yeah, again, like all the other stories, and every story in this is expected to top 10 list. It's got a really good idea, and unlike the Claws of Axos, I do really like the way this ended. And I think I actually do prefer it to Doctor and the Silurians, even though it's pretty much the same. It's still, I feel it works better in this because it creates a little bit more suspense, as at the time, obviously we know they're not going to die, at least one of them, but at the time the Doctor and the Master could be dead, and then you just see, as you see, loads of floating bodies. And anyways, overall, it's the Sea Devils are good villains. They're clever. They can be dangerous with the gun when they use it, but there's a different side of them which created a really interesting sort of concept about, in another life they could have been allies as humans like the Doctor wanted. The Doctor and the Master are both good, and they do both have some good interactions throughout the episode. And overall it's a good episode, 8.5 out of 10. Number 7, but not perfect. But now let's get on to the rest of the episodes, and they are all 9 out of 10s. So number 6 is, ironically, I didn't actually plan for this, but when I was making the list, just the way it happened, Doctor Who and Silurians. The first episode from season 7, and another Malcolm Hulke episode. And this is Doctor and Silurians, the debut appearance of Silurians, which come back in the modern series, which I don't actually think they're as great as it were in this. I mean, all the makeup and prosthetics used for the Silurian costume I don't really like. I think it looks a little bit too, I don't know, it's a bit weird. It's just like a big lizardy cactus sort of thing. I don't really know how to describe it, but no, I think this works better with them because it looks a little bit more alien, but it also sort of goes well with a dinosaur. And I know you could argue that Silurian does, and I'm making a poor case of this, but the costume that is used for the Silurians in the modern series I just don't really like compared to this one. Although it is quite cheap, but still, it's better. So where do I start with this? I mean, it's a criminally narrated episode, and it starts with Brigadier exploring this cave that's been having like reports of sort of creatures I think were down there, and then he eventually brings the Doctor and at least Shaw up there, and his brand new Bessie, and we all should know Bessie, good old Bessie. And the Doctor ends up meeting people who previously came back from the cave and all crazy and drawing pictures of these weird reptilian life forms. And then the story goes on. The Doctor gets even more curious as more power outages are happening. That's why Brigadier was called in, and more happens. And then Doctor goes down the cave himself. I think he meets Silurian and sees the dinosaur. Meets a dinosaur, which actually looks quite good for the 1970s. Definitely better than what they looked like in an invasion of the dinosaurs. And it turns out that the Doctor recognises the Silurians, gets in contact with them, tries to talk with them, reason with them, tell them that joining up with humans is a good thing overall. Succeeds with one, but then another one who hates humans kills the one he convinces, bang, and then sets out a virus that starts killing humans. Fun times. And when that happens, when the original Silurian leader dies, that's when I think the story really starts to get good. It's a bit slow at first. It's enjoyable for I think it's around part 5, part 6, where they probably starts getting into gear. But the first 4 parts are good, but they're not brilliant. Like in overall rating of 8 out of 10, I'll probably say. But then the rest of it is like a 10 out of 10. But it's a really good episode. But it is really Doctor and the Silurians is really underrated. I would definitely recommend getting it a go. It's the box set where it comes in is alright. It comes with Sea Devils and a story that we shall not name, which I named earlier, and it's just terrible. But it's definitely got issues, so I see why people may not enjoy it. But I do still feel it's very underrated. So do give it a go. Now then, for what number? Now then, for number 5, definitely know how to count. Number 5 is a story written by Bob Baker and Dave Martin. Initially doing this list, I was surprised that 2 of their episodes got into this, since they're not generally most of the stories I don't really enjoy. But it is The Three Doctors, the 10-year anniversary. The first multi-Doctor story with Patrick Troughton and William Hartnell. Although sadly William Hartnell was too ill to have a big part in it, so he just spoke from a sort of like a dark sort of black set where it was sort of speaking at a camera, and sort of was only could help out 3rd and 2nd Doctor. I think this was only a couple of years as well before he sadly passed away. I'm not actually sure on that. But I mean, again, just like as I said earlier, every other story, it's got really good idea. It has Omega in it, and apart from one story which I would like to be erased from existence, Omega is my favourite villain of all time. I might ask a video I did actually, top 10 villains. Anyway, so without getting sidetracked, yeah, so it has Omega in it, and this is his best appearance. I mean, he only really has 2 on telly, but he's brilliant in this. To hear John Pertwee and Patrick Troughton communicate with each other is hilarious to listen to and watch. And William Hartnell is good for the bits he has. These monsters here, jelly-like monsters, whatever they are, I don't think they actually have a name. Yeah, they weren't great. They just gone and just shot out from literally nowhere. A bit cheap, but they did the job, and it doesn't really bother me. I just enjoy the story so much, and it's really fun story to watch. Some people don't enjoy this, and I can't see why, but it's just, it feels like one of those stories that you would if you're trying to take it seriously, it will work. But for me, I just love pretty much everything about it. There's a few nitpicks out of it, so it's not quite a 10 out of 10, and it's not John Pertwee's best story. It was for quite a while, but it's dropped down to the 5th spot now. So very good episode. Definitely recommend to watch it. Yeah, so that's number 5. Now to number 4. For one of the oldest DVDs in my collections. It's actually one of the oldest DVDs, not one of the oldest episodes I watched. Back to Claws of Axos. The Time Warrior. This is 4 years old. I don't know if it's there's only one DVD I have which predates, I think it's about 7 or 8 years old. And that's Frontios. But anyway, let's stick with this. So, Time Warrior. This is a bit of a nostalgic story for me, since it was probably the episode that got me into Classic Who. It's introduction to quite a lot of things. It's the introduction to Sarah Jane, and it's interesting to see that those two's chemistry with each other throughout the episode. Especially that Sarah Jane thinks that the Doctor's the imposter for half the episode, so not what you expected for starting companion. But once Sarah Jane sort of works with the Doctor, you can sort of see they get on well. And as this is not related to this episode, but as they go on, she's quite, her and John Pertwee do have quite funny chemistry with each other, which is, I'm not actually sure whether I prefer John Pertwee with Sarah Jane or Tom Baker with Sarah Jane. She's really good with both Doctors, but I'm not really sure. Anyways, back to this. So Lynx, this is definitely the best Sontaran appearance. They just started getting worse from here. Sontaran experiment, they're right. The invasion of time kept on falling over deck chairs, whatever it was. Can't really remember how much that in a while, but I remember him falling over the chair very pathetically, and nearly died laughing. Like Monty Python, if you watch that, you get a reference. And what's the other story? I've actually forgotten. Now, 2 Doctors, they were terrible in that. And then New Who, they just started going downhill there. I kind of do prefer the costumes in New Who. But anyways, back to this. I keep on sidetracking so many other things. It has a lot of leading stuff beginning from this. So this is the first mention of Gallifrey as well, which is cool to finally hear the planet's name, especially if you're a fan of this. When it originally aired, you would have had to wait 10 years to find out what the Doctor's home planet is called, which is definitely too long, but at least they eventually said it in season 11. And just, there's nothing really wrong with this story. It's just really, really well written. Most of the acting is alright. It's got good scenes. Cliffhangers are all really good. The first one, remember clearly, is the Sontaran reveal. Yeah, there's nothing really wrong with this story. It's just really good opening story for season 11. Good introduction to Sarah Jane. There's a lot of good scenes in it. And yeah, that's it. That's all I'm going to say about it. Good story, definitely recommend you to pick it up. And now it's into the top 3. So then, one that you would have all ever expected to be this high on the list. Probably some of you would have expected this to be number 1, but funny story about this is when I first watched it, I never I didn't enjoy it too much of it. It's slow. It was alright. I think I gave it a 7 out of 10 on first watch, but the more I watched it, the more I grew into it, and now it's up to a 9 out of 10, and that is Inferno. And I think the more I got to, the more like the older I got, the more I appreciated the darker theme that it's had, because this is definitely one of the darker versions of Classic Who. And I think when Classic Who generally goes into a darker sort of fashion with a classic Doctor Who episodes, it's definitely generally goes well. One of my favourite Classic Who episodes, Tom Baker episode, which I'll get on to when I do the top 10 Tom Baker episodes, is quite a darker one as well. And then Pete Davison, his best episodes are quite the more darker sort of tone episodes. So Inferno is something that I've come to enjoy now, and especially I do love the parallel world sort of concept, and this one does do it brilliantly. And something that I'd love to see from New Who is that all the Doctor's friends turn on him and see the Brigadier, no moustache, looks a little bit weird, and looks about 20 years younger. Even the lovely, adorable Sergeant Benton, I think he was there. I don't know what his rank was in this episode. I think this was his first appearance of John Pertwee. I think he only appeared once before, and that was in the Invasion, where he was sort of like a spy in a car stalking the Doctor, and eventually took him to Brigadier. But it's just really interesting to see all his friends turn on him the way they did, threatened to kill him about half a dozen times probably. The concept of it with this sort of stuff from the Earth, because the Earth is in pain. It's sort of summing up as a real sort of living sentient being. I'm not sure if it actually is. I haven't watched this episode again in a while. Most of these I haven't actually watched in a while. I watched the next one, the number 2, quite recently, but this one I probably need to re-watch soon. Something I will say, episode 1 and 2, my opinion's never changed in that day. It's definitely a little bit slow. It's okay, but it's more building up to the Doctor eventually going into parallel universe, and I think that is the part 2's cliffhanger where the Doctor disappears. I can't remember exactly, but I know it's either then or when he's threatened by one of his friends. I don't know, but the creatures actually quite really threatening. They look quite creepy. There's one hilarious scene, and I can't remember what universe it's in, but when one of them tries to hit the Doctor, I think, and just falls off and makes the funniest scream I have heard in my life. And if you've watched this, you will know what it means, but it is the most ridiculous scream I've heard in my life. But it's a very good episode. At first didn't enjoy it, but now do appreciate it a lot more. Definitely recommend it. Recommend all of these, but definitely recommend you giving this a go. 7 parts is very long, but it fleshes out the story quite a while. And now for number 2. It is another season 7 episode, Spearhead from Space. The only classic episode I've done a review on, so you probably already know my opinions on this, so I'll just do this quite briefly. Spearhead from Space. It's debut of the colour TV, so that's brilliant. Debut of the Autons, John Pertwee and Liz Shaw, and everything about this is brilliant. It's a really enjoyable story. Autons, I've kind of wish they started getting into it a little bit more earlier on. I did like the fact that they took a while for like the army or all the other Autons to it took them to like part 4 or the end of part 3 to actually get into the story. I think that was good, but I think some of the Autons around the factory probably should have got in, probably should have done a little bit more throughout the episode. That's pretty much the only thing I can really complain about this episode. It's a brilliant episode. Best Auton episode there is. Again, won't say too much because I've done a review on it, but definitely recommend it. It's very enjoyable. Brilliant performances. Brilliant everything. I think directing is actually pretty good in it as well, which I don't often get when classic is generally quite average. So then, for number one, the best John Pertwee story, and this one is definitely going to surprise you all, since the prediction has probably been Spearhead from Space, Inferno, or The Green Death, and they've all been on this list, but it's neither of them, as it is The Mind of Evil. As I said, for number 9, for The Green Death, there was going to be a more political sort of story going on, like coming on the list later, and this one, The Mind of Evil. Utter brilliance. This is part of season 8, written by Don Houghton, who also wrote Inferno, and I think he's a brilliant writer, to be honest. I think he's probably up there with Robert Holmes, to be honest, because the stories he writes are generally quite good. So I'm just looking down there because I've got my laptop and all this sort of like lists and stuff down there. But Don Houghton, brilliant writer, and it's a brilliant story he's written out. It's not, when I was watching it, it felt like a very different sort of style of a Doctor Who episode. It's sort of not really, I mean, it certainly is, I think I'm pretty certain it's an on-location story, it must be. But John Pertwee and Joe, brilliant in this. The Master is very good, and then it's the best part of this is the idea of the machine. I have no idea what it's called. I think it might be just called Machine, but I think it's a brilliant idea. It removes the minds of criminals and makes them good, but it actually turns them back into babies. And then there's a bit of controversy started with that. I think with the Doctor or someone goes a bit against it. I think it's a bit wrong. I think it's just a really good story, and the only thing that stops us from being a 10 is that towards the end, the cliffhangers, they don't feel natural. A couple of them do, but they're all pretty much the same. Where the machines threatened to kill one of the main characters. I think he's in the Master as a cliffhanger. But apart from that, it's just a perfect story. Brilliant episode, Mind of Evil. The best John Pertwee episode there is, in my opinion. And yeah. So that's it. That's all. That's the 10 best John Pertwee stories, and this video is a lot longer than I thought it would be. And so let me know what your top 10 favourites are of John Pertwee's era. Be interested to see. Of course, it's on your opinion, so I'll be interested to see that. So there'll be more videos coming soon. I'm not sure whether it'll be the top 10 best Tom Baker episodes first, or it'll be top 10 worst John Pertwee episodes. I'm not sure how I want to do it, but there'll also be reviews. There'll be a video, like an update of me going to Comic-Con. Don't have any footage of it, but I've got photos and a couple of DVDs signed and stuff. So one of the things you probably could see is that I got that from Comic-Con. I was going to get the Woman Who Fell to Earth one, but Heaven Sent it's just one of the best Doctor episodes, so I had to get that one. But there'll be an update of that and a birthday and Comic-Con updates. Reactions, I'm not sure what's going on with what I'm going to do with them. I'm not sure if I'm really going to be reacting to many old Doctor episodes, or if I'll just stick to new Doctor episodes. But something that we'll be doing is I'll be doing reviews of audio CDs. I'm starting to get into them. I recently got the Time War 1 box set. I've got The Last Adventure and Trial of the Valiards and the 4th Doctor series, 7 Part B, and I'll be getting more 8th Doctor ones, and I'll be getting all the War Doctor ones as well. I'll explain why in future videos, but something that I did want to ask you, I'm planning to go to the Winter Comic Con, and I've never done a vlog before, but would you want me to vlog it? Would you be interested in seeing a vlog of me going to the Winter Comic Con? I mean, I've never vlogged before. It might be the worst vlog of all time. I'm constantly putting out vlogs, so I have no idea what I'm doing, but just let me know if you'd be interested in that. And yeah, so without further ado, so thank you for watching this video. I'll hopefully see you soon. Until then, goodbye.